Humans as an expense. Is there anything more perverse or ridiculous than looking at humans as an expense? But businesses do this all the time. Their workers that are actually recorded on their books as an expense. When they pay wages, it's an expense. It's a loss to the company. Now think of this for a little while. We can lose sight of what's going on in a highly complex economy. But if we had one factory on an island or in an isolated community, such as up north, and the workers came to the factory every day, and let's say this was a highly complex factory, and it produced everything that this community or island needed. And the company is owned by one of the members of the community. And he hires one young fellow out of college, and the young guy, new employee, is looking at the books and he says, you know that if we change things around a bit and brought in some machinery, we could reduce the workforce. I think we could get profits up by 5%. And the boss is like, wow, you know, that's quite an incredible idea. Yeah, let's lay off 5% of the workforce, and let's bring in some equipment, and we're going to start on a cost-saving measure. And so the company gradually brings in machinery and gradually tools the factory and so on, until they're making a smaller range of products and not quite so much of the peripheral stuff, the low-end things that don't make too much money, and they're focused on high-end objects and things that can be made reasonably cheap for the profit that they produce. And they're selling these to their store, and gradually more and more people have no income, and so they have no work, and so they aren't buying. We don't need to go into this scenario any more than this. It's a possibly ridiculous scenario, and yet in another sense it happens all the time. Not only is this hurting the company, if in an indirect way it's hurting the community, it's also creating the need for cheaper products to match the decline in income. When people aren't producing, the profit for the company may go up, but their ability to spend of the economy goes down. But the other problem is the product itself has to be cheapened, partly because it's being made by machines, so it doesn't have that customizability built in the way that when things are made by hand, they can be customized. But the more expensive the machine, the need increases for long and large production runs. So the product has to be simplified. So we get to big box stores selling cheap goods that are simply and cheaply made, and fast food places and so on. And this comes down to looking at the worker as an expense. But how do we overcome this? This answer is quite simple, and it's in the Bible. We look at the community as a community. We don't look at the community as a resource to be exploited. We're to be loved and helped and valued. We're not to be looked at as an exploitable commodity. When the company sees workers as an expense and they're trying to benefit the consumer, they've literally lost sight of what they're trying to do, and they've created an actual kind of psychosis for themselves, because the worker is the consumer and the consumer is the worker. Because if the consumer is not working, he can't make money to buy, and if he can't buy what he's making, what is the point of him working? So it's a self-reinforcing cycle. The more he can work and the more money he can make, the more he can consume. And this is what we need to tap into, not this perverse idea that the worker is this enemy, infection that needs to be got rid of or reduced or eliminated to what degree that is possible. The church sees the worker as a resource. The worker is producing to gain, to get, and that's the whole purpose of production, is to make something we want, or that others want, that we can get what they have that we want. And so this is a community. The workplace is a community. The community is a church. The workplace isn't a thing in the community. It's not an institution that is separate from the community. It is the community. It's an integral part of the community. What is more vital to the community than people working to produce what they need, directly or indirectly? We're not an expense, we're the purpose.